As long as we're, following these principles and we're surrendering and opening and being in that high vibe and maintaining that, we can create our reality. I mean, we're doing it anyway. Let's do it intentionally. When you can acknowledge the wins and the things that you've done so far, I think that really helps to build that energy and build that elevated emotion to help you to go, okay, well, if I've come this far and I've done this, what do I want next?
Welcome to Living in the Miracle Zone. This is the place to be if you want to live in the flow of synchronicities and miracles in your everyday life. I'm your host, Marci Shimoff. I'm a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a teacher in The Secret, and the creator of the worldwide program, Your Year of Miracles. And I have spent my life studying happiness and miracles. And in this podcast, we bring to you extraordinary miracle stories that will inspire you and groundbreaking miracle tools that'll show you how to live your most miraculous life. It is my heartfelt intention that we have a fabulous time together. So welcome to the Miracle Zone. And today I am joined by the brilliant and wonderful Natalie Ledwell. Hi, Natalie.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's always great to get to be here with you. And I guess I should say aloha, because
Yes.
You can tell I'm not in my normal environment. I've got tropical plants all around me, and I've got my island hair because I am in Maui, one of my happy places.
Well, you look gorgeous.
Thank you.
As usual.
So do you. So do you. And I'm going to tell people a little bit about you and your background. I think most people know about you. You're a best-selling author. You're the co-founder of Mind Movies, which is the hugely successful online personal development company that's reached over 10 million people around the world. I know you also have new work that you're doing with children. You've got personal growth studies. We'll talk about that and about your app. But I really want people to know about my experience with you most of all. And that is, Natalie, I met years ago. We were both in the Transformational Leadership Council together. And what I know about you, Natalie, is you are one of the most generous, heartfelt, clear thinking, beautiful people on the planet. Before I met you, I knew about Mind Movies and I was in awe of you. And I met you and you are just so real, so down to earth, so practical, and so committed to living a miraculous life and to helping others live it. So thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for that lovely introduction.
Yes.
I have loved getting to know you better over the years as well. So, it's a bit of a love fest happening right now.
It is a love fest. And, what I so appreciate is we're both living in the field of helping people live these outrageous, miraculous lives. And that we are in the journey also always. And you and I come together for all kinds of experiences to help us even deepen and further and all of that. But I would love to start, as I always do, with hearing your story. And, you didn't always live a miraculous life. How was it before? What changed? And how is it that you've come to live this miraculous life?
I did come from very humble beginnings. As you can hear from my accent, I'm Australian. And I grew up in a country town. I'm one of 8 kids. We had a very interesting upbringing. It was fun being in such a big family. But I think one of the gifts I got from that was having the resilience and the independence and the ability to dream big and to go for my goals. Nothing was ever handed to me. Everything that I've created in my life, I've had to create from my own efforts and my own manifestation abilities. I grew up in country town, moved to Sydney when I was 18 and old enough. Started managing fitness clubs and actually talked my way into my first managing job when I was 21 years old. So I've always had more front than Kmart, as we say in Australia. I just talked my way and went, we'll figure it out. And then I met my husband when I was around 25 years old, and our first business together was a nightclub. And Glenn and I were serial entrepreneurs to the letter. Like we had nightclubs, we had property development, we had the first bathroom advertising company, Australia, coffee franchises. I mean, you name it, we did it. We were, again, both of us are action takers. So we know that if anything, needs to get done, we just drop the shoulder, we get in there and do it. I had a moment in 2006 where I'm looking at my bank account and I'm looking at my bills and I'm like, hold on a minute. We had 4 businesses we were running at the same time. And I'm like, why we aren't getting the results that we want? And I had started my first set of cassettes that were given to me, Brian Tracy cassettes. I was 21 at the time. So I knew how to set goals and to make plans and to do all of those things. I'm like, I'm missing something. And then a friend of mine suggested I order a DVD online called The Secret back in 2006. And Glenn and I were sitting in our living room. It's a Saturday afternoon watching this movie and going, I still thought to myself, how did I miss this? Like, how did I miss this piece? And I think the big takeaways were, for me, was that I didn't need to know the whole plan to be able to set a goal. I just needed to know where I wanted to end up and then just start taking action towards it. And then things would start to fall into place that I couldn't have planned anyway. And for Glenn, it was really when he was doing his visualizations to add emotion, to not just see it in his mind, but to feel what it was like to already be there. And so not long after that, a friend of ours approached us with this little movie he had created. It was like a slideshow that had PowerPoint slides with affirmations, had photos, and it had music. And it was his version of a vision board. Now, The Secret had just been on Oprah. You guys had just, been on the Oprah show. So everyone was talking about visualizing. And so we decided to put a little video on YouTube, just, to sell the instructions for people to make these movies for themselves. And within months, we had that many emails from people going, this is changing my life. I'm like, all right, boys, how do we figure out this internet thing? Like, we have something here that I think is really going to make a difference. And so we ended up coming to the US in 2008, attending an internet marketing seminar, staying here for 5 months, working our butts off, trying to orchestrate an online launch, which happened to land in September of 2008, which was also the time that the economic crisis had hit the planet. We had accumulated $120,000 on credit cards just to try and launch this to the world. And I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work, we're toast. I don't know how we'll dig ourselves out of this. And in the end, we ended up doing like a $700,000 launch, selling a little $97 program in the middle of an economic crisis, the worst that we had seen in our lifetime. So I think what that really demonstrates is that, we started from not knowing what we were doing to just kind of figuring it out. And it wasn't, Glenn and I were great at business and we had fantastic business skills. And, we separated 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since Glenn and I were married, and we're still business partners. Business skill sets complement each other. But once we started to combine that with these manifestation skills, with the law of attraction, with these other more esoteric skills, that's when we had outrageous success. So for me, it was like before we were like a car up on a jack where the wheels are spinning, but we just weren't going anywhere. But once we started to apply the different things, we were able to set up success. And now it's 16 years later, we've reached over 10 million people. We're starting to work with kids, parents, adults, teachers with their mental health and emotional intelligence, and just looking at other ways that we can serve and create a world of love around us.
It's such a great story. I love your courage. I love the lessons that you came out with. You don't have to know the whole picture. You just have to know what's there right now to do. And then the idea of the feeling it as though it's happened. It's not just enough to know the steps, but the whole emotional piece of it. I mean, you've put it all together. I want to know what you've found since then has helped you continue living or grow in living a more miraculous life. What are some things that we can all do that you've learned?
Well, most recently, because part of my manifestation process that I teach, the last step of that is surrender. Surrender into knowing that everything's happening exactly when it's meant to, that things are showing up. And what I've realized is that when you can be always resonating at a higher frequency, which means that you're more coherent with the unified field or with the universe, which makes it easier for you to be in flow and easier for things to be attracted to you, even though you may not necessarily be focusing on it. And to deepen my surrender practice has been something that I've really been focusing on lately. And I'll give you an example of that. The other morning, I got up and I'm ready to go to the gym, and I'm about to walk out the door, and my little puppy Bella starts barking. I'm like, "What? Do you need to go for a walk?" So she goes and sits next to the drawer where her lead is. I'm like, all right. So I thought I'll just take her for a walk and then I'll go to the gym. So then we go out for a walk. I think we're walking for like a few minutes, and then she's decided, no, I don't want to go for a walk now. I'm like, seriously, Bella? So we turn around, we come back. And as I'm coming back in the gate to my building, I see a woman there with her dog. I start chatting to her, and then a friend of mine comes over, and the two of them were about to go for a walk. And I said, well, you know what? I might walk with you just a little bit just to have a chat. So, and of course, now that there's other people, Bella's willing to walk. So as I'm walking with these women, the woman that I met for the first time, she works with teens with emotional intelligence. She's writing a paper on it. She's at one of the universities. She was just this amazing contact for the work that I'm doing in the world right now. And if I had at any point went, nope, I have to go to the gym, or no, I'm not taking you for a walk, or no, I'm making you go for a walk, any of these things, I was just being open to what's presenting now, listening to what's happening and seeing what's going on, and going, okay, I'm not going to be married to the plan that I had for myself this morning. I'm just going to go with what's presenting. And I ended up making this amazing contact. So for me, it's like really surrendering and being it and acknowledging that as often as I can right now, because that's what's inviting some amazing serendipitous things to come in.
I love that story. And I love this idea of surrendering and opening to living in the flow. You know, we think we try to be the general manager of the universe. Life needs to go like this today. It needs to look exactly like that. And there's nothing wrong with having an idea and a plan, but the idea of being open to how the universe is speaking to us, how life is speaking to us, and where life takes us. And that's where the real magic happens. It's, I think, both. It's having the idea, I'm going to be doing this, and then being open to what is life bringing me. And that requires trust. You know, we have in the Year of Miracles, we have 5 foundations for living a miraculous life. And one of them is trusting in the universe. The idea that we live in a benevolent universe and that the universe is always kind of on our side, is for us. So how do you, in order to surrender, you need to trust. How do you develop more trust?
Well, I acknowledge the evidence that's showing up for me every single day. I mean, if we sit at, like in the evenings, I'll sit down and, have my gratitude journal, but I also sit down and think about, well, how did the universe gift me today? Like what came my way that was unexpected, or that what was different? And so I acknowledge that all the time and see whatever we focus on expands. So the more you focus on that, the more you see it. I mean, I get it. I'm juggling multiple projects, and sometimes you can get really bogged down in the doing of everything. And what we're talking about is taking time throughout the day and at the end of the day to focus on the being. Who am I being? How am I showing up? I have on my whiteboard here, you can't see, but at the top of it, it says, what am I creating in this moment? And when I look at that whiteboard and look at that statement, it helps me to sit back and go, okay, look, I know I'm been in front of the computer now for like 2 hours creating things and forcing things to happen. But if I was to step back and go, well, what am I creating in this moment? How do I want this moment to be? It's like, okay, well, how do I get into flow? All right, I need to raise my frequency. How am I going to choose to do that? I've got multiple ways I can do that. I can play a song, I can go for a walk, I can watch a mind movie, I can do a ton of different things. So what am I going to do to raise my frequency in this moment so I can be in flow? So I'm not creating something that I'm trying to force, I'm allowing flow to happen. So I try and focus on that as much as I possibly can. Even, we were talking earlier, I mentioned that personal growth studies. So personal growth studies is a curriculum I created for schools, for teachers to teach in the classroom. And it's all life skills, emotional intelligence, mental well-being. And it's been a challenge. This program we finished at the beginning of the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened. And then we have all these challenges, like 300,000 teachers left the profession last year in the US. One of the districts that we're working with in Texas had to hire 20 teachers from outside the US. They couldn't find anyone here to be able to fill the classrooms. So I can see that there are challenges and so forth. And so the traditional way of trying to get a curriculum into schools isn't working right now. Now, I could be upset about that. I could be impatient. I could be blaming everyone and everything outside of me. Or I could surrender and go, well, show me a different way.
Mhm.
What is the different way around this? And part of that is this app that we created. I was mentioning to you earlier. It's called FeelWise, and where we're using AI to help humans be better humans. We have all the curriculum and the lessons that we have in the school program are in the app. You can do anything like, your body check-ins, your visualizations, meditations, breath work, body work, a whole ton of things. But the AI component is so cool because you talk into your phone for 15 seconds and we can measure the emotional energy that you're holding in that moment through the frequency of your voice.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So
Yeah.
in 15 seconds, what are you doing? You're speaking for 15 seconds?
Yep, you're talking to your phone for 15 seconds. We then give you a little report. So we're telling you where you are at that moment in your self-awareness, in things like your peace, your happiness, your confidence, all these different things. And then we're also giving you suggestions on what you can do to shift the energy in those particular areas if you want
That
to do.
is extraordinary. I mean, first of all, I appreciate so much the way that rather than hitting your head against the wall and saying, why isn't this working the old way to get this into the schools? And oh, woe is me, which is the victim way, is to go, okay, what is the possibilities? Show me another way. Let me open to what's possible. And then here you create this app out of it. And who knew that you can just speak for 15 seconds and that AI could tell you what energetic state you're in, which to me, I mean, this is great. Is this just for the kids? Or, I mean, this needs to be for everybody.
Yeah, it's for ages 13 and up at the moment. So what's happened is now we've got HR for a whole group of Catholic schools. We're doing a presentation for military schools. So we're working with the faculty first because the faculty they are drowning,
Yeah.
for a number of different reasons. And so we're helping to build up their mental well-being and emotional intelligence. And then this is our way into the schools because we're already working with the faculties. Now they're in the position they go, all right, we see the benefits here. Let's make sure that we can incorporate this into the classroom.
Mm.
So it's like, how do we do things differently? And I think when you surrender, part of that is going, okay, I'm going to release any attachment I
Mhm.
have to it being this particular way. And let's come up with something so far out of the box. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, inviting in the surprise. I try not to do things the same way every single day. I have a morning practice that has 5 different components, which I've just added a new one. I have a cold plunge here at my place now.
Oh, that's courageous.
Yeah. So I get out of bed and get straight into the cold plunge, which is
Ooh.
there's a lot of mental resilience you need for that. But I don't do my routine the same way every day.
Mhm.
Because if you keep repeating the same day over and over again, you're just inviting the same results over and over again. So when you can be, adaptable and ready and surrender to different things showing up, that's where you have this really juicy, amazing, and delightful life,
Mhm. The juicy
inviting in
days,
miracles.
amazing and delightful life. That is the miracle zone. So what are one or two things that the app might tell me to do if I'm in a stress state or if I'm in fear to move to a higher energetic state?
Yeah. So at the moment, the app is focusing on positive emotions. So we're not going down the fear road or anything now. So let's just say you get a low score on confidence. So
Okay.
we have a little video that explains what confidence is and how it shows up. And then some activities you could do. You could do affirmations.
Mhm.
We've got little visualizations that we can lead you through, showing you being confident and reaching the goals that you want, or movement. We have yoga or Tai Chi or movement where you can actually move that energy so that you're going into something a little, higher positive. Something like happiness. Again, we've got, the little video on happiness, and then we can go into a visualization. The other cool feature we have is we've got a little guide in there. His name is Oscar. He's our logo. And he can engage you in a conversation around your emotions. So the first question he asks you is, how are you feeling today?
Mm.
And so you'll go, I'm feeling okay. Or if you're a teenager, you go, fine, you know. And then he'll start to lead the conversation in a way to help you to understand what it is that you're feeling, because it's not just teens, but most people don't have the vernacular to describe what it is that they're feeling, right? So he'll help you figure out what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and
Mhm.
then give you some suggestions on how you can move that.
So this is brilliant. I can't wait to see it. And I want to understand, you're doing great with mind movies and all the work that you do with mind movies. And then all of a sudden I heard Natalie's doing programs for kids. I know you don't have children. What was it? Was it following? How did you decide to do this? Are you
Yeah.
following part of your passion?
Well, I make a mind movie every year for my goals for the year, and I realized one year that I was carrying over most of what I had in my mind movie the previous year to the next year. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I've got too many projects on." And I was writing a new book, I was in talks for a new TV show, and I had the kids program. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to choose one. I'm going to have to choose a lane and put my energy into that one thing. And I'm thinking, well, it won't be the kids because, I don't have kids, not qualified. I've got my little voice going, yeah, who are you to be able to do something like that? I left school when I was 15. So, I'm like, that's what I'll be. I'm like, TV sexier. Wait, that's way sexier. I'm definitely going to do that. And then, of course, a colleague of mine reaches out who's got 2 master's degrees in child psychology. She's like, look, let's create this program. So the universe was the one that was pushing me in that direction. I'm like, okay, it's going to be the kids program. And so every step of the way, what I needed for that next step, or what I didn't realize I needed for that next step, will just start to show up every
Mhm.
single time. And there's been a couple of times, especially with the pandemic, I'm like, maybe this is too hard. Like, maybe I'm not meant to do this. And as soon as I think that, something else will come in or someone else will come in. And I'm like, all right, looks like I'm here. I'm staying. So, but I become, again, very aware of that. And I'll sit in and go, okay, it's challenging right now. I'll sit in meditation and go, show me what I can't see. What do I need to do next? Where is this going? Or I just ask, can you please send me what I need next to make this happen?
Mhm.
And then, so the company that we partnered with for this new FeelWise app, Christy Holt, I met through a mastermind. Her and I connect really well together. Her team is bringing the AI and the building of the app. My movies is bringing the content and the marketing. So it's a perfect marriage. That's kind of how things fall into place. And I think it's not just the acknowledging of all the resources and the people and the opportunities that are coming my way. It's how I feel about it. I tap into like, does this feel right? And I'm so excited out of my pants about how useful a tool. Like, we're even talking to mental health practitioners and therapists right now to be able to use this tool with their clients and for themselves. It's exciting.
Well,
That's my indication that this is the direction I should be going.
see, the same underlying principles apply throughout every story you've told here, which is being open, surrendering, opening, having a positive expectation about what's going to happen and the mystery, about really even moving through challenges with listening and watching for the signs, and for staying in, following as the most important piece, the state of your feeling, the energetic vibration, because ultimately that is what puts us in the frequency of miracles, is being in that energetic vibration. And every time I'm with you, it doesn't matter whether you're in the midst of a challenging time or a flourishing time, I see you coming with that same spirit of high vibe. That's why I love being around you. So the last question I'm going to ask you then is, what would you say to people to most move in that high vibe, even in the midst of challenge or fear or something new or something not working? What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, if you're someone who's listening to this podcast and you're thinking, well, Natalie, it's fine for you. I mean, look at your amazing life. Look at everything that's there. And I can look at, like, I've manifested intentionally everything that's here. But I think that some of us, we don't realize until we sit and take stock of how far we've come. Every single person who's listening to this podcast has a story and a journey, and you've got to this place. If you're listening to this podcast, you've gone through the hard knocks. You've already had some success, but we forget to kind of sit there and go, wait, I did do this, and acknowledge how far we've come and all the things that we have created and the things that we have done to get to this point. And I think that when we can sit in that and acknowledge that, it gives us that proof, gives us that evidence that we can do it. And that we can, as long as we're following these principles, and we're surrendering and opening and being in that high vibe and maintaining that, we can create our reality. I mean, we're doing it anyway. Let's do it intentionally. When you can acknowledge the wins and the things that you've done so far, I think that really helps to build that energy and build that elevated emotion to help you to go, okay, well, if I've come this far and I've done this, what do I want next?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
And in the process, I would say the other thing I know about you is that you stay true to yourself.
Yes.
You really listen to yourself. You're not doing what somebody else is telling you to do. You are following what you know in your heart is for you. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, since I've learned about these principles, for me, it's like I do what I love. Actually, one of my affirmations that I read to myself, I've got a series of affirmations I'm reading to myself each morning. And one of those is that I create outrageous abundance through my love and service. Mm. And so every time I'm sitting at my computer, I'm like, I'm creating an outrageous abundance through my love and service. And I love this work. I love to do this. I love to help people. I love to be with people. I feel like I'm in my zone. I feel like I'm in my purpose. And I really want to encourage other people to take some time to figure out what that is for them, lean into it, figure out what that is, and then, live that life of fulfillment and love and service.
Natalie, you are always an inspiration. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing so truly, so authentically your journey. And I know people can reach you on social media. We'll give the links in the show notes, Instagram, Natalie Ledwell, and Facebook, Mind Movies. Any last minute words before I end with a quote and some wishes for everyone?
Well, I just want to thank you, Marci, for being such an example. I remember seeing you in The Secret back in 2006, and you have always been like a mentor and an inspiration for me. And I was just saying to a friend the other day how we think about the ripple effect. I mean, the amount of people that you've reached, but the amount of I've reached over 10 million people, but part of that is because of you and your teachings, and then who those people are reaching. It blows my mind. And I want to thank you for everything.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like we have all of us, everyone here has we all have a divine assignment. And I feel so grateful that our assignments get to interact and connect together like they do. So I will leave with a quote from the beautiful Natalie Ledwell, who said, "Be unapologetically authentic, because that's what the world wants to see." And I'm so glad that we got to see you unapologetically authentic today. And I want to thank all of you for listening today. I hope that you are feeling inspired and uplifted and more in the miracle zone after our time together today. I certainly am. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share the Miracle Zone love with your friends and your family. And you can also find out what your own miracle superpower is. You can take our free 2-minute quiz to find out your miracle superpower at miraclezonequiz.com. And please remember that your life of miracles is waiting for you. It is your birthright. And simply by being here together, we are taking a step forward into the miracle zone. Enjoy, and I send you love.